And we're brought to you by Trusted Sons. Thank you to the gang at Trusted Sons. Electrical, plumbing issues, hot water heater, gas, electric heater, broken pipe, clogged drains. One call is all it takes. Call Kelly, and she will contact the honest set of people that are running Trusted Sons, America's handyman company. And I've said it before. What is there for somebody in the military that has a military specialty to come home and have that specialty, but don't have an application for it in real world? It's a hard nut to crack coming home. The military teaches honesty. It teaches hard work. It teaches self-value. All of those things applied with the contractor leading the road, the work's going to get done. The contractor is there, and he's got a set of workers with him to get the job done, and they are military guys and gals. So you know it's going to get done right the first time. They're actually going to come out and check out my house. I live in an older house, and my toilet is now starting to do some funny things when the weather gets weird. So who did I call? I screwed around and got COVID, and they can't come yet, but they're going to come and check out my toilet for me, and I'll tell you more about what that is. But hot water heater, do you have an issue with your hot water heater or gas or electric heater? Your drains? I mean, there's numerous things they do. Any kind of electrical, plumbing, construction need, one call is all it takes. To the folks at Trusted Sons. They're proud sponsors of this show. I appreciate them for backing me here on the Manteca podcast, Man About Town. You go to trustedsons.com. This is a picture-perfect model of a business that James Keener, our local boy done good, who started this business, he's done it in Hawaii. Handy Andy in Hawaii is a huge, huge handyman company. Very busy. That's what they're looking to grow here in Manteca for Trusted Sons. You can contact them at 209-269-2727. California contractor code 824421. B, C10, C36, Pinterest, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Find them or just go to trustedsons.com. Sponsor of the Man About Town podcast. Let's go. No guest again this week. Why? Well, I can't have anybody over, and I probably shouldn't travel into somebody's home after having COVID. Now, I'm days away now, feeling much better. On the show, in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to dig into one of our local churches and find a gentleman who does music worship as a trade and has always played music and always been a religious cat. As long as I've been being a DJ, this guy's kept it real. So he's coming up. You'll find out next week. And then a national athlete from Manteca, a Manteca boy done good. If you're into two-wheeled fame, well, we're going to talk to the guy who lives, eats, and breathes two-wheeled tasks. And more and more and more and more. There's 26 more people. And I wanted to ask you, who do you think I should have on? Comment in any of the comments or send me an email. Who would you like to see on the Manteca podcast? We've got confirmed people still to come. We hope to get Bill Andrietta and Phil Waterford and Linda Abelt and Dr. Stellhorn and Ron Bilo, my friend, Coach Keith Jackson, Dennis Wyatt from the Bulletin. There's my two next right here. I don't want to tell you who, but there's two right next to each other. They are coming up next. I've got half of the audio. So the next two up should be these guys. Scott Brooks is still in basketball season. We can't bother him. Our Rick and Morty guy, Justin Roiland. How about Rick Wentworth, Kurt Giovanoni, Mike Mallory, or Tony Ramus, John Fultz, Coach Gebhardt, Kevin Wentworth. And that's just running down my list here of the back 26. These are people I have talked to. My buddy Sean Deaver, who keeps it real. I'm going to get him on here. J.D. Willis from Rocco's. He's a St. Mary's coach, right? Trying to get Uncle Denny Crockett, my wife's uncle. Steve Clark, Dan Evanson, maybe Ed or Eddie Cardoza, hopefully Mrs. Cunyo, maybe Carl Dunbar, Coach Jeff Tilton, James Keener. I want Toby Payon to tell his story. Gino Marliani would be a fun one. Maybe Charla over at Peel Fry. We did talk to Ken. She's been there quite some time. Those three ladies that run the East Union Cemetery, the trio, I'm going to get them on. So many more. Maybe the Gunters that run the KFC over there. Between Jamie and Matt, maybe I can get one of them on. But those are some of the people that are next in line. And it's very difficult to get people cornered to find people that they want to give me that might talk good about them. It's sort of a task, right? Asking you, nobody wants to blow their own horn. That's one of the most hardest things to do with this podcast. Some people just don't want to do it. They agree to do it, but they don't want to do it. And then when I come after them to get their references. And remember, one of the hardest things to do is get people to do what they say, right? Send back the audio. So people need all this time to pray. This is like a 5-minute task. If you're listening right now and I call upon you to be on the show, just stop what you're doing, open up your phone, answer the 5 questions, send it back. It does take but 10 minutes. I've got people put me off for weeks, right? And I've got a schedule, so it's hard. But that's the nature of the beast, unfortunately, when you're talking to people who don't want to talk about themselves. Would it be interesting if I just took my microphone and randomly walked into people in Manteca and talked to them? Would that be a fun podcast? What do you think? I know. I mean, I don't know. Everybody's got a story. The podcast is about an older generation, but when that older generation comes up, when my next 26 are up, what will I do? Will I continue on and talk about the great people now of Manteca, or will I move on to a new city? Well, I don't know. I need your help. I did do a ranker. I ran a ranker of the top 10 podcasts from the Man About Town. Here's our top 10 so far. At number 10, Dr. Sean Sangalang. At number 9, John Anderson. Number 8, Frank Teixeira. Number 7, Coach Bob Lee. Number 6, Coach Mick Founts. Rick Enterbitson is top 5, 5th. Number 4, Jim Anderson. Coach Thompson at 3. Ken Summers from PL Fry at 2. And the most listened to has been Eric Reese so far. We had a hell of a first week number on a 2-hour podcast. The first time I ever put out a lengthy podcast more than an hour, more than 90 minutes. That's 90 minutes is pushing it. But I put out Dan Lowry, American hero, American badass, and he's almost at 100 first week downloads. Some people barely even get to those in their first few weeks, but having almost 100 when we only have about 100 real followers is a pretty good number and nifty. Did I just say nifty? Yeah, I think I did. But that's the top 10, and I'm glad to put this podcast together with the help of Trusted Sons, America's handyman company that you could call at 209-269-2727. Talk to Kelly. She'll get you hooked up. Herm and the boys will show up. Restore your faith in the handyman business. We know there's a lot of charlatans out there. Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist. Remember, it was me talking about whether you had troubles in the house, and one call would do it all. The call is to the Trusted Sons, America's handyman company. 209-269-2727. Construction, electrical, plumbing, one call. And thanks for being a sponsor, James. I appreciate you. All right, so the podcast is coming back. If you know any of the people that I just mentioned, make sure you let them know that when I call, I'm coming for the audio. Explain to them that you love the podcast, you want to hear the story, and that there's a lot of people out there like you. And we'll get them on the show, and we'll tell the story about Manteca, my hometown, which we'll be back next Thursday with a brand new episode, I promise. And this is a 2-week shutdown due to COVID. So first week, me. Second week, make sure I'm not catchy and that I can go out and talk to folks. So I'm feeling great. COVID is past. Me, at least for now. And next up on the Manteca podcast, some great Manteca stories. So I thank you. Appreciate you. Subscribe now at Anchor or Spotify or wherever you get podcasts. And thanks for listening to the Manteca podcast, The Man About Town.
That's this week's show. Thank you, Manteca, for the listens, shares, and follows. If you'd like to support the podcast or be a sponsor, it's easy to get a hold of us, mantecapodcast.com. Hit the envelope and send us a message. This is a podcast of Manteca's heavy hitters. You got a suggestion for me, someone I should feature? Hit me up. Aaron Goodwin, local radio DJ, Randy Bubba Black. I'm now retired, a product of Manteca High School. Go Buffaloes. This is the digital age. I do this show about my hometown to set an audio timeline. This podcast is sole property of myself. It may not be reproduced in part or in whole without express written consent covered on the World Wide Web under fair usage. Add this podcast wherever you get yours. MantecaPodcast.com.